All right. Well, hello, this is Michael Gummel from Paradigm Technology Consulting. Today, we are continuing our monthly ISV solution webinars. And today with us, we have individuals from eOne who will be going over their product Popdock. With us today, I have Alicia and Rod, and they will be taking us through some quick overview on slides and things like that, and then Rod's gonna jump in and run through a demo of Popdock and show us all how we can use it to make our lives easier, right, Rod?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yep.
So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Alicia. Alicia.
Thanks, Michael. As Michael said, my name is Alicia. I've been with eOne for almost 8 years now, working on the sales side, and my colleague Rod O'Connor is with me as well. He will be doing a demo here in just a minute, but I did want to touch on just a couple of slides. Today, we're going to be discussing Popdock in general and what it is, and also an offer that we have for existing Smart List Builder and Smart View customers. And new customers that don't own Smart List Builder, Smart View, or Popdock can also take advantage of this. So I just wanted to share one more slide because before we jump into a Popdock demo, we should maybe understand a little bit more of where we're going with the product and where the product's at, and kind of how everything has evolved to having Popdock as a tool. So most of you are familiar with Smart List Builder. The same developer created another product called Smart View. So Smart List Builder, you're used to building all those custom lists, etc. Smart View is a replacement to Smart Lists inside a GP, and it gives you a lot of flexibility around grouping, subgrouping, totals to your screen. It works a ton faster. And then the developer took this, it's kind of like an evolution as we're kind of seeing here, and he added a lot of the same functionality, plus added a ton more into Popdock. So essentially we have Popdock now, that's a web app. And it's built for more than just Dynamics GP. So you can still access those lists that you've built with Smart List Builder. You have those grouping, filtering, subtotals to your screen, etc. But the nice part about this is then we can take this tool and also do it for other applications, right? So right now we have over 50 applications that are pre-built, but we also have a generic REST connection as well that allows you to connect to many different systems, as mentioned before, outside of GP. Rod will touch on a little bit more on that in just a bit. So right now what I'm going to do is turn it over to Rod, and then I'm going to come back to me and we can discuss more about the Popdock offer itself. So Rod, if you want to take over, you can.
Sounds wonderful. All right, everybody. So as Alicia mentioned, my name is Rod O'Connor. I've been with eOne Solutions for coming up on 3 years now, but I've actually been working with eOne products for a whole lot longer than that. I've been in the GP channel for, gosh, 20 years or so, and I've worked with the eOne products as long as they've existed. Today, we're going to be talking about Popdock, and Alicia mentioned to you a second ago, Smart View, and Smart View was always what we consider Smart List on steroids. Popdock is really Smart List on gamma radiation. So we've taken what was Smart List and what was Smart List Builder and what was Smart View, and we've really blown it up and given it powers that we never could have imagined way back in the day. So I'm going to jump in first to a list. I guess actually before I dive into that list, just a quick note to you. Hopefully you're noticing Popdock is, first of all, online. Okay, now I can access my GP on-premise data. I don't have to move it out to online. I can still access that in real time. But the application itself for Popdock is online. Now what that means is I don't have to have GP access to be able to access my GP data. Okay, so that's one of the first kind of cool things about that. Now, you might notice on here that we've got some visualizations. So we've got a little dashboard and such. So With this dashboard, I do like to point out, we're not competing with tools like Power BI, but we do give you a lot of information at your fingertips, and visualizations is part of that. Okay, so let's jump into a list, which is really Popdock's bailiwick. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a quick little collections list that I've built based on my Dynamics GP data. Okay, so you can see, again, it's list driven, the same as you're used to with the old smart list. But we've got some kind of neat exceptions here. First of all, I can start to move columns around. If I wanted city to be first, I can drag it to wherever I need it to be. And if I wanted to group by that, I could simply drag it up here. So now you can see I'm getting on-screen subtotaling by customer based on that grouping. Okay, and I can clear that out really quick. I have the ability to add and remove columns the same way as I might have always thought. So I can add these 3 columns here, for example. And then if I realize that that was a terrible, terrible mistake, I can very quickly get rid of those columns on the fly. So again, the whole experience is really meant to be as simple as possible for you guys to really work with this data. Just in case there's accountants watching, the first question I usually get is, can I get it out to Excel? Yes, there are 2 ways. I do have this export button, so I can take what's on screen and push it out to Excel. There's also a way that you can use Popdock as a data source for Excel or for Power BI, and then I can make that data prettier and refreshable. So there are different ways that we can take your Popdock data and push it to Excel. I also have the ability to filter my data. Okay, so if you take a look here, I can pull up any of my columns, very much like Smart List, what I had before. My operators are in plain words. Now let me prove out, since some of you, well, all of you have throwback pane. Notice here, we have more than 4, obviously, so you can have as many filters as you need. We also have the ability to have ands and ors. Okay, so it doesn't have to be all ands. I can say, these 2 fields are true, or these 2 fields are true, and that's entirely up to you. So lots of flexibility here. When we do look at things like dates, create a date, for example, I have the ability to enter a date if I really wanted to, but what makes more sense, especially if I'm saving a favorite, is selecting a comparison field. So I can say it's equals this week or last month or this year, what have you. If I wanted to do between a range, I could say between the start of last quarter and the end of this quarter. So I have lots and lots of flexibility with my ability to query my data. Okay, I'm just going to refresh this so it refills the screen. Okay, as I mentioned, we do have the ability to save and reuse favorites. Okay, so if this collections list is something I have to review every Monday morning, then I can simply come in here, click refresh, and every time I see Skippy skipping, he's reaching directly into my data source, in this case GP, but that data source could really be anything. While I'm on the list, I've also got the ability to, if you remember from Smart List, we had go-tos. Well, now I've taken that concept of go-tos and I've broken it out into 2 things. The first is details. So for example, I can click on this map detail and see where is Alton Manufacturing, okay? Or I can click on the sales by item and see what do these guys purchase. Okay, I can take a look down here and see all of their outstanding sales transactions. And just to prove out that this is context sensitive, when I change it to Berry Medical, you see here we get all of the orders for Berry Medical. Now, the cool thing about these details, they don't actually have to come from the same system. So where I'm looking at GP data up top and GP data at the bottom right now, I could be showing GP data at the top, i.e. a list of customers, and maybe dynamic CRM or Salesforce data in the bottom. So I could take a look at my GP customer and see what open opportunities they have in my CRM, whatever that is. I could be pulling in tickets for these customers from my online help desk solution. Maybe I'm looking at fulfillment information from my online WMS. Whatever it is, wherever my data is, I can pull it all together into a single spot and put as much information into my users' hands as possible. Okay, this should 100% remove the need for your users to say to their customers or whoever they're talking to, just a moment and let me switch systems. Okay, that should be removed from your company's vernacular. All right, so when we talk about Popdock, there's kind of 5 main pillars, and I've just touched on features that are talking about a bunch of those. Oh, you know what, before I go into that little side part, one cool thing that we've added that you guys don't have today on SmartList is very quick multi-company reporting. So I can take a version of this SmartList that has all 3 of my company databases in it. Now, my filtering has it down to just 1 company returning data, but if I had 100 companies, I'd see all 100 companies listed here. And it doesn't have to be all, I can just choose 2. For example. Now, the amount of effort it takes for you to have this multi-company reporting is 0 seconds. This just happens, and it's going to just happen for any connector that you connect to that has that concept of multiple organizations. So your CRMs, your Salesforces, your GPs, all of those are going to come up with this multi-company reporting out of the box. Now back to those 5 pillars I started to talk about. So our first pillar is that everything in Popdock is really meant to be user configurable. Okay, so as you can see, just like SmartList, I'm building my list and I don't have to be a member of IT to do this. Okay, the second is that the data is always in real time. So as I mentioned, every time Skippy skips, he's reaching into the data and pulling it back directly. Okay, the third is that my data can come from anywhere. Now, I've been focusing on GP data up until now, but we do have, when we go to connectors, almost 60 connectors out of the box today. Okay, so obviously GP is one of them. I've mentioned a couple of others, but if you scroll through the list, it's not all just ERP and CRM data. So I have the ability, I'd like to point out GitHub for the nerds on the call. Okay, or even Twitter, we can get our marketing people into this SmartList type experience without having to code anything for them. We just connect to it and it works. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, we have about 50 out of the box. If we wanted to do something maybe more custom, if I wanted to connect to something that's not on the list, I've got these 2 guys here available that make it possible. Okay. So first is REST service. Now, for those who aren't aware of what a REST API is, basically all of your online web services today, so the different HR systems or shipping solutions or packaging or even things like Twitter have their own API, okay? And what that means is systems like ours, and in particular Popdock, can connect to that API and use that API to get information out of that system. Okay, so I can connect to Bamboo HR, I can connect to gunbroker.com or whatever it is that you guys have that you do online today. If they have a REST API, you can all of a sudden use it as a data source for all of your reporting. Okay, also SQL Server. So for those of you who have some data that's currently living, maybe you have some extra databases in your GP environments where you've got custom applications, you can use that in Popdock too. Okay, and it's really easy to do it. So as far as connectors go, that data can definitely come from anywhere. So now we're through our first 3 pillars. The next pillar, the next 2 that I want to talk about is you can present that data anywhere. So I showed you I'm online actively looking at my GP data. I can take these Popdock widgets and start to embed them in other systems. Okay, so here, for example, I've got Dynamic CRM, and I've got one particular account open called Giordano's. And if you look here, this should look kind of familiar. This is a Popdock list that I've embedded directly into my CRM. And from this list of invoices, I can see what invoice lines are here as well. Now, here's what's really cool about that. We're not importing that data into CRM. We're simply displaying it in CRM using the Popdock widgets. Okay. As I mentioned before, we can hit stuff from online. So this is Zendesk, which is an online ticketing solution for support. The reason I like to show it is twofold. First, it's proving that we can pull from the interweb. The second is it helps me to introduce our fifth pillar, which is the interactive. So interactive is covered somewhat by the details that I already showed you, but it's also covered by these actions. Okay, now we can create actions that do all sorts of cool stuff. So in this case, I'm adding a comment to the support ticket. So if you guys remember, I talked about the API a couple minutes ago. I'm taking advantage of the API that comes with Zendesk, and I'm actually pushing information into their solution. So now, if I refresh, pull open that ticket, and take a look at the comments, you'll see the very most recent one is this one right here on November 16th. Okay, so interactivity doesn't just have to mean showing people data. You can actually get them interacting with that data. I could have you from a Popdock list create a contact in your CRM, for example. Now, one last embedded widget, just so I can show you. This is Teams. So we're all on Teams today for this recording. This is a Microsoft Teams channel where I've got a Popdock widget, and hopefully it looks familiar to you. So I can refresh this Popdock widget and see my collections data here inside Microsoft Teams, and all that other cool stuff I showed you, dragging columns around, grouping by those columns, or having the map available. Oops. Or even viewing the sales. All of these details, okay, are now at your fingertips. Outside of GP, outside of Popdock, where our users are already working. Okay. So let me jump back into Popdock. So what I've shown you so far is really that end user experience. So, all of those 5 pillars kind of brought together into the final smart list type experience. But let's take a look at some of that smart list builder functionality that I talked about earlier. Okay, so I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to go back to my connectors. And I'm going to open up my GP one. Okay. So everything starts with lists. Now, if you think about lists, they're kind of like smart lists, right? So when you connect to your GP connector, we give you 91 lists out of the box. And that's, they pretty much match similar to what you get from out of the box smart list. Now, I do have the ability to add base lists to this. So I can pull in existing smart lists. Right. So if I have commissions report under my smart list builder folder, I can add that here simply by checking the box and clicking add. Okay. If I wanted to access any of my SQL tables or views, I can do that here too. Right. So, and that includes the system database in GP. So now I can start to pull in maybe those custom tables that I've built, or extender views if I have them, or what have you. All of your GP data is available to you. Okay, now once I have these base lists, I can modify them. So let's go to our customers one, for example. Okay, I have the ability to, first of all, modify my fields. So if I don't like address 1, I can change it to address 1, for example. Now I'm not going to do that because it'll look silly in future demos. I also have the ability to decide my default fields. Okay, and if I wanted customer name to always be first by default, I can go ahead and do that. Just move it around. I can add a default field, maybe balance type as an example, and I can remove a default field. Okay, along with all of that, I have the ability to create calculated fields. Okay, so let's see here. Let's just go into one. Okay, so I have the ability to create a calculated field. Now I have a choice of script language to choose if I want, and I don't want to scare anybody off with this. Popdock script is 100% my favorite as a person who works with Popdock quite a bit, because it's an awful lot like Excel. So if you've ever used an Excel formula, you can use this. So I have access to all of my fields here in the drop-down list. And I also have a whole bunch of built-in functions, right? So now I can say, you know, I want to concatenate a string. So I'm going to select my string category, and here's my concatenate function. Okay, and I have the ability to add all of the things I want to concatenate, including maybe 2 fields. So I want to concatenate address 1 and address 2. Okay, not the world's greatest example, but it's an example. And now that formula is done. It's entered for me. So again, if I've ever used an Excel formula, you can probably figure this out in just a couple minutes. Okay, so let me go back to my list. So we've gone through the ability to add or modify existing fields, add calculated fields, and we've also talked about adjusting our defaults. We also have the ability to edit these lists, okay? Or sorry, edit these lists, to put restrictions on these lists. My favorite example, I had a customer not so long ago who had 6 different corporate divisions, and they wanted Popdock to be really kind of divisional. So we created 6 versions of each list, and each list was restricted to a particular division. Then we used security to make sure they could only access it. That was one way that we were able to achieve that. So restrictions are ones that users can't override. I've also got the ability here to add details. Okay, and those are those things that you saw me click on around the outside. And I just want to show you real quick. Adding a detail, there's 0 lines of code involved. You're simply making choices. So you're choosing what type it is, you're choosing where you want it on the screen, and you're choosing what data is in this particular detail. Okay, you have the ability to filter it, which is how you make it context sensitive. So if you remember, whenever I clicked on any detail, it was always in relation to the record I had already selected in the parent. And again, I have the ability to modify what fields show up in that particular detail. Okay, again, 0 lines of code here, it just happens. Okay, so over and above the ability to add and customize what I'll call a base list, we also have the ability to add custom lists. Okay, now we've got a bunch of different types, and again, they're just making choices. So let me quickly jump into this one before I explain some of the types. So if you take a look, we're choosing which lists are being compared. We're choosing our fields from a list. Nothing about this is code-based, okay? Go back to that first pillar that I talked about Popdock. Everything is really designed to be end-user driven. All right, with that said, let me go back here and talk about those custom lists and talk about the different types available. So the first 2, I'd like to start at the bottom because they're not as exciting as some of the others. Okay, so a summarize a list is just that. I'm going to maybe get a pre-aggregated list of transactions by item by warehouse, for example. Restricting data in a list works very much the same way as I just talked about restricting the other way, except maybe with a little bit more control over what columns get included. Now, these 3 is where the real meat comes in. So joining 2 lists together is pretty cool. Now, if you've ever used any reporting tool ever, you know how to do this. This is where I'm going to choose 2 or more lists and create a relationship between them. So then now I can choose records from table A and fields from table A, fields from table B, and come up with a list that includes both of them. Again, collection list is one of my favorite examples, where maybe I'm pulling the customer name, the balance, you know, what is their credit limit, all out of the ERP. And then from the CRM, I'm going to pull their calling preferences and their mail preferences and their fax preferences so that I can have that all in one place on a single list. Okay, a merged list, if we think about GP as an example, as a single example, I have sales transactions. Now, sales transactions in GP are broken into 2 separate sets of tables. The first one is my open transactions, which means they're unpaid. The second one is my historical transactions, which means they're not, or they are paid. I think I got that backwards when I said the open ones. But anyway, they're in two different spots. When I run a sales transaction list, I want to see all of my sales transactions. So a merge will allow me to bring those together. Okay. And then a compare list. Now a compare list will look at one list and then compare it to a second list to find records that either do or do not exist in that second list. One good way that this got used, again, it's a GP example. Somebody had created a customization to the project module, and when they posted the project transactions, they weren't hitting the general ledger at all for some of them. So we created a compare list that compared all of the posted job transactions to all of the posted general ledger transactions and showed us the job ones that didn't exist in the general ledger. So within 5 minutes, we were able to show them a list of what didn't get posted correctly, which was pretty slick. Okay, an important note on the compared list and the join list and the merge list, the multiple lists that you're including don't have to come from the same connector. Okay, I already indicated I could join CRM and ERP, but I could just as easily join ERP data to my online help desk or to my online warehouse. I could merge data from maybe a historical, maybe before I came to GP, I had another system and I've got that data sitting out there in a SQL database somewhere. I could merge that with my GP data to come up with a life-to-date historical report. I can compare GP to CRM to see what customers are in GP that don't exist in CRM. So all of these can be used across multiple systems. And that's where I really get into that whole gamma radiation thing, because now we've taken that power of Smart Connect and we've blown it out to the rest of the world, which is so cool. Okay. So that's kind of that smart list builder functionality. I have one more thing I want to show. This is more for the folks who are more Power BI or Excel savvy. But I just want to show it anyway, and then I'll hand you back to Alicia. So we have this concept of API endpoints, okay? Now what this allows me to do, I can take data, for example, my Dynamics GP data, okay? And I can pick a list, sales line items, for example, and I can even go right down to a particular favorite. So if I pre-filtered a list, maybe year-to-date sales, for example, and then I, save that as a favorite, I could choose that favorite here. Now, the really important part is this, okay? So now I can copy any of these links, usually this one, into Power BI or Excel or Tableau or anything else that can consume a REST API. And now they have access to this data as well. So for the more technically minded people listening, we just put a REST API wrapper around Dynamics GP data so that you could consume it anywhere. Okay, that's also very cool. All right. So hopefully you've taken away kind of the big rocks of Popdock. I teach the boot camp on this, and 8 hours isn't long enough for me to keep talking about it. There's a lot of functionality that we can show you, but hopefully what you've taken away is very powerful user-driven ad hoc reporting with data that's always in real time. The data can be coming from anywhere, including Dynamics GP. The data can be presented anywhere, including the internet through the Popdock portal, and that data can be highly, highly interactive. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hand it back to Alicia.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Rod. All right, so I'm going to go over the promotion that we have and kind of what's going on as far as Popdock being bundled with SmartView and Smart List Builder. So starting last week, I guess the first week in November, let's call it, we have now made it available for customers that purchase Popdock Business subscription or higher that they receive Smart List Builder, SmartView, and Popdock all bundled into one. Okay, so what that looks like for new customers, just a second here. What that looks like for new customers is not only do you receive Popdock and all the functionality there, you also receive Smart List Builder, Smart View. We're also including unlimited support for Popdock, Smart View, and Smart List Builder. And Rod had mentioned that Popdock Bootcamp earlier, that deep dive training. That's also included with all new purchases of the Popdock Business or Premium subscription. Okay. One thing to note here, if you are a current user of Smart List Builder or Smart View, I'll go over those scenarios in just a second, but I want to make it very clear that these are not going away. Smart List Builder and Smart View are definitely not going away. So they all have their separate installs like they normally do. They're just considered a bundle going forward. So I know I'm sharing this slide again because I wanted the visual once again. So now if you purchase Popdock, you're going to get Smart List Builder, all the functionality of Smart View, and Popdock once again, all included in that bundle. So the next thing I want to talk about is what this looks like for the existing Smart List Builder customers. I know there's probably several listening to this. So what this looks like is, since you already own Smart List Builder, you can transition to a Popdock subscription, either at the business or premium level, at a 40% discount, and that price is good and is locked in for 3 years. Okay, so what that ends up being is $120 a month. You get access to Smart List Builder like you've always had. You get also access to Smart View and Popdock, as well as that unlimited support and the Bootcamp Pass that I mentioned earlier. Okay, this also means that if you subscribe to this, that you do not pay your annual enhancement perpetual license any longer. So once you move to a subscription, you get all 3 products and the unlimited support, and then you stop paying your annual enhancement. This offer is good through December 1st, 2022. Okay. The other option you have for Smart List Builder customers is to stay on a Smart List Builder annual enhancement plan. Nothing changes. Once again, we're not getting rid of Smart List Builder. It's just bundled now into a product. However, starting December 1st, 2022, your AEP or annual enhancement plan will increase to $900 a month, and this is US dollars. So the price for the annual enhancement plan will be going up. So to transition to this Popdock Business or Premium Edition for 40% discount is quite the steal. The same offer applies for existing SmartView customers. Once again, you get 40% discount for 3 years, all of those products included. If you want to stay in SmartView AEP, your perpetual maintenance, that price is not increasing. Okay, so there's 3 different scenarios here where you can take advantage of that 40% discount. 1, if you currently own Smart List Builder. 2, if you currently own SmartView, or 3, if you currently own SmartView and Smart List Builder. So in any of those combinations, you can take advantage of that 40% discount. Okay, so I'm doing a little bit of math for you. So over 3 years, this is what this looks like. Okay, so today's Popdock Business subscription level is currently, well, we'll call it $299 or $200 a month. So that brings the price to $120 a month with that 40% discount. Once again, you're locked in for 3 years and get all of those products and the Bootcamp Pass included. So all of that for $1440 a year. Okay. For existing Smart List Builder and SmartView customers on a subscription, for you, you're actually going to be grandfathered into this bundle as of April 1st of next year. So what that will look like, if you currently own those products, the price will be $120 a month. And then you'll also get access to SmartView and Popdock and that unlimited support as well. So make sure you reach out to PTC Solutions to be able to get those products installed after April 1st. Or if you want to take advantage of that offer prior to that date, make sure you reach out to that team as well. All right, so just some important dates to remember here. January 10th is when it officially comes on our website for that Smart List Builder, Smart View Popdock bundle. However, if you want to take advantage of it prior to that, we did make that available as I mentioned before, that first week in November. So we can help you out with that. On April 1st, those current subscription customers will be automatically grandfathered into that plan. So you'll automatically have access to those additional products and benefits. On December 1st, 2022, or that offer for that 40% discount for 3 years being locked into that will be going away. So you have over a year to think about it before you take advantage of that subscription. If you want to, once again, take advantage of that prior to that date, certainly reach out to your partner. So if, once again, you want to take advantage of that, reach out to PTC Solutions at sales@ptcsolutions.com, and they can certainly help you out.
Great. Well, thank you, Alicia and Rod. Any final comments before we wrap this up? All right. Well, I appreciate the time. Hopefully everyone has learned some things today. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We will be posting this up on our YouTube page as well, so that other individuals will be able to take advantage of it. Again, thank you both, Alicia and Rod, and we will talk to you later.
Thanks, Michael.